Alright, Reddit Volume 12. That's a lot. I am surprised that we're in double digits. That's all I got for you right now. Enjoy. What's a small, seemingly insignificant decision you've made that ended up having a huge impact on your life? I was with my mum at a bar in Paris. She was a pain in the ass about what specifically she wanted to eat, so we left without finishing the drink. 10 minutes later, the other bar got shot by terrorists. Me and two other co-workers decided to grab some dinner after our shift. It was so enjoyable and we talked so much that we didn't realize the restaurant had been closed, been together for over 6 happy years. Took the wrong train in a new city to a minimum wage job that I didn't want but needed at the time. Asked a random guy for directions when phone GPS still kinda sucked. He was an aspiring filmmaker and I was just a film nerd without any post-high school education or thought breaking into the industry. Sold our first film to IFC like 2 years ago. What did the person you were interested in do to completely make you lose interest? On a first date, a gal and I was interested in asked me for $300. Told me I was an okay safe bet and the UFO wasn't going anywhere. Long time ago, started seeing a very rich person. Sent a photo of dinner I had ordered on a completely average restaurant in a completely average popular neighborhood. Got a reply saying, if you ever took me out to eat there, I would never see you again. Talked about himself for 2.5 hours straight. I was hoping a disruption like the food being served, orders being taken, or even a story ending would remind him to let me get a word in. What's really dangerous, but everyone treats it like it's safe. I get a lot of tourists in my area trying to casually summit the local 14,000 foot mountain in sandals. Wild animals. I was in Thailand when a 30-year-old got bitten by a monkey. Her complaint? No one had warned her not to pet the monkey. Long hair around pulleys and belts. There's a YouTube channel where 2 young ladies are working around a sawmill with long hair, and I can't count how many times people have begged them in the comments to tie up their hair. Water on the road. You might be able to drive through it, but more often than not, you shouldn't try. Sunburns would be treated much differently if they were called by their true name, radiation burns. What fact is common knowledge in your field but almost unknown to the rest of the population? People almost always try to exit through the same door they entered. Cement and concrete are not the same thing. Cement is the main ingredient in concrete, but concrete is the whole mixture of cement, sand, aggregated water. Amen. Cement, that's concrete, baby! Urban heat kills more people in Australia than bushfires. Your calf muscles act as a pump for your lymph fluid, which is basically the garage, pickup, and immunity DoorDash of your body. Powerful explosives are so insensitive to shock that it usually takes a smaller, more sensitive explosion to set them off. What was loved by poor people until rich people ruined it? Living in warehouses in the industrial rundown side of town. Thrift shopping. I'm not thrifting, I'm fucking broke. Food banks. My local food bank put out a news article basically saying that rich people need to stop using the food bank as a life hack. Champion brand clothes. I had a lot when I was a kid because it was the cheapest possible and now all the shit is considered vintage. Counterculture-based festivals. Burning Man was on my bucket list until rich fucks started showing up with bodyguards and started establishing private zones. Buying a fixer-upper home and spending weekends working on it. I was really looking forward to that. What's a total waste of money yet people still pay for? Extended warranty on inexpensive items. Scientology. The bag of spinach in my refrigerator that was purchased to replace the previous bag of spinach. MLM products, stupidly overpriced and all the packaging just looks so cheap. Internet service providers that still don't offer unlimited data plans. Paid followers. 95% of gym supplements, aside from caffeine and creatine, none of them have been vetted enough to be called effective. The ultra-thin one-ply budget toilet paper. What things are seen as weird by the younger generation that we need to normalize again? Not having everything you do in public recorded. Saw chills in the street to maintain one's honor. Holding your phone to your ear while talking. Not being accessible all the time. Just because I have a cell phone doesn't mean I want to answer it at the supermarket or while cooking dinner or while driving. Can we re-normalize using headphones while listening to music or watching videos in the park? Having the decency and manners to verbally cancel plans or say you'll be late in a timely fashion that's respectful of the other people's time and effort, instead of framing ghosting people as some kind of cute personality quirk. What are y'all starting to dislike the more and more older you get? Loud noise. The 5-day work week. Always being tired and getting up in the morning. I really took the amount of sleep I got when I was younger for granted. Meeting new people. I'm 62. Working has lost its color. Social media, specifically Instagram. I realize how much time I wasted worrying about how people perceive me and my interests and experiences. Traveling, but not seeing the sights or any of that. I'm in the actual transition from one location to another. Gossip. I never enjoyed it, but being around grown adults who speculate to overcompensate for whatever insecurity is insane. What's a dead giveaway? That someone is stupid. Often wrong, but never in doubt. The tricky part is that people can be extremely smart in some areas while being completely stupid in others. That's actually really true. They tell you about the time they scored 450 in an online IQ test. Instead of having a good point in an argument, they call you names and insult you. They have a hard time understanding how a concept in one context could apply to another context. They talk about being an alpha male. If they use Reddit, except for me. What was ruined because of 9/11? Quick airline travel. People would often show up 30 minutes or so before a flight and be able to board on time. Lots of people's birthday celebrations. I saw a meme of that recently. It's so funny. Casually driving over the border from Canada. We used to go to the US all the time to buy stuff or just hang out. It was no big deal back then. Hey, that's what it's like domestic in Australia. I was 14 the summer of 2001 and my family took a trip to Europe. Being 14 and a nerd, I bought a sword. Carried it on the plane home. Security guard asked, "What's in the box?" I said, "It's a sword." He said, "Sweet," and gave me a fist bump. This was like 2 months before 9/11. What celebrity death seems a bit too suspicious? Shelley Miscavige, wife of Scientology leader David Miscavige, disappeared in 2013 after vocally coming out against the practices of Scientology. Nicole Brown Simpson. From what I hear, her ex is still trying to find the real killer. Dr. David Kelly. Not exactly a celebrity, but he was a known public figure. He was a weapons expert that supposedly killed himself shortly after saying that the report on Iraq's nuclear weapons had been fudged. I wonder who would want that. Dorothy Kilgallen, reporter and TV personality, died under mysterious circumstances while investigating Kennedy's assassination. Americans, what is something that Europeans do that makes no sense to you? I don't know if it's all Europeans, but Germans have a real problem with staring like I owe them money. Also paying to use the bathroom in public spaces. True, that last one's wild. No AC, sure, fine. But then no screens on your windows so all the bugs get in? In Germany, apartments don't normally come with a kitchen. It's purchased/installed by the tenant. The smoking? I stayed with a host family in France and my 16-year-old host sister smoked like a chimney, as did all her friends. What is something you have a hard time not judging people about? People pressuring other people to do something after the other people have already said no. That is just every Australian though. People who act tough, I can't take them seriously. Being extremely loud in public place or restaurants and bragging. People with no sense of self-awareness, so they stop in the middle of walkways, entrances, crosswalks for no reason. Constant aggression at the slightest thing. Could be a mental health issue, but lashing out isn't the answer. I hate people that feel the need to constantly bring down others and make them feel bad about things they enjoy. It's so sad to watch someone's enthusiasm about their hobby deflate because another person decided to be a dick about it. What can you proudly say you've never done? Murder? Lose my virginity and get COVID? Why are you proud that you're a virgin? Heroin? Play League of Legends and cocaine? Two very different, equally toxic substances. Never broken a bone. Never had to go into the ER for shoving something up my butt. Watch 2 girls, 1 cup. Been arrested. Dropped my phone in the toilet. I've definitely done that. Ate at Long John Silver's. What did you find out after a first date that was a deal breaker? He killed his dad and was accused of sexually assaulting his sister. Holy shit, what a sentence! That he had restraining orders against him from not 1, but 2 exes. Also asked if he could move in with me on the first date. He told me that he couldn't wait to have kids with me and that he had picked out our kid's name. When I told him that this was our first date and I wasn't sure about kids and that this was a super creepy thing to say to me, he insisted it was my duty as a woman and that it would make me very happy. What's the scariest disease you've heard of? Dementia, and because you basically sit back and watch as it slowly starts to eat away at you, but there's nothing you can do. My hypochondriac ass should not be reading this. Locked in syndrome. Fully conscious but can only move your eyes. Yeah, House told me that. There was a House episode where a guy had locked in syndrome. Okay, we're the same. Alzheimer's disease. With memories effectively making you who you are to a certain degree, I can't begin to imagine losing them all. HACE or high altitude cerebral edema, particularly on deadly mountains like Everest. The idea that you get so confused and disoriented that some people just step off a ledge or undress because they feel warm and die from hypothermia scares the hell out of me. What instantly ages someone? Hair loss. Not me personally, but I used to work with a guy who I swore was like 35 and he was 19. Being president. Look at Obama's hair in 2008 versus 2016. That's true. Bad plastic surgery. I just did 4 years in prison and that was fucking stressful. I feel like I've aged a lot. Back pain. You can't move like a young person if your back hurts. Troubleshooting printer problems. I swear these devilish machines only exist to trigger me to smithereens. I was gonna say the way you dress, but it went real dark in the comments. What is far more rare than people realize? Green eyes make up just 2% of the global population. A stable, loving, peaceful domestic life. Solid brown fur cats. Apparently it's some kind of recessive gene in them. Northern lights. The amount of people I've heard say, we've come all this way, what time do they come on? People who remain friends with you once you leave school. Being a multi-millionaire. Lots of people faking it out there. The percentage of people with eating disorders that are underweight. Critical thinking skills. Redditor moment. Bit of peace and fucking quiet. What is an addiction people might not realize they have? Hitting the snooze button too many times. Food. People often eat far more often than necessary. They eat out of habit and not out of necessity. Doom scrolling. Daydreaming. I do it constantly and can't stop. It literally takes up hours out of my day. Procrastination. It's so much easier to say, fuck it, I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and you still don't do it. Addiction to other people's lives. We're constantly flooded with media on people we don't even know / have never met. Yet we invest so much time interacting with them and having a false sense of reality, seeing only what they show. What are some really bad common life choices? Getting pregnant to save / secure your relationship. Staying in a bad situation because you are afraid of changing it. Thinking that a threesome or a baby will fix a bad relationship. Getting sucked into someone else's constant drama and ignoring the needs of you and your family and friends. Getting addicted to nicotine. It's utterly pointless. Doesn't even get you high. Neglecting relationships. Failing to invest time and effort in maintaining relationships with family, friends, or partners, which can lead to loneliness and a lack of support. What are you better at than 99% of people? Picking the cart with the squeaky wheel at the grocery store. I have a weird gift of knowing what temperature it is without looking. Sending texts people don't feel the need to respond to. Unicycling, because I can confidently say less than 1% of people have ever bothered to try. Knowing what that actor is from. Breaking bones. I have a rare bone disease. Getting things off the back of the top shelf at the grocery store unassisted. I'm 6'7". My BF is 6'10". He gets the high stuff. I get the low stuff. I'm 4'10". You get $1,000 per person you annoy. What is the fastest way you can become a billionaire? Bro, I'm a middle school teacher. This is gonna be quick. Walk around crowded streets and transportation while I argue with someone on speakerphone. I recently discovered this masterpiece known as Baby Shark played on the bagpipe. Passive income. Just go into any social situation. I'm autistic. All I need to do is go to the grocery store and take an item off a random dude's cart and suddenly have $1,000 to broaden my scope. Be CEO of one of the largest game engines out there and say that you will be charging an install fee for every download of the game from now on. What's a red flag you don't mind so much in a potential significant other? I don't mind some mild possessiveness. In fact, I think it's kind of hot. Absorbed in their hobbies / their work. I love that. Go buck wild, even if it's obsessive. Someone who has a fucked family. How a man treats his mother is a sign of how he'll treat you, so be careful. Not gonna lie, I'm genuinely desperate enough to ignore most red flags. Not having a lot of prior relationships. When I met my husband, he was 34 and he had only one serious relationship up until that point, which was 15 years prior. Someone hands you $100,000 and says, you know what to do. What are you doing? Operation Valkyrie is in effect. Pay off my debts. That leaves me with about $85,000 for savings. Close the briefcase, look into his eyes, slow nod, straight face, walk away without saying a word. Stick it in the Vanguard S&P 500 Index Tracker Fund and let it ride for a few decades and celebrate the huge jump I just got on my retirement savings. I ain't gay, but 100k is 100k. Changing it into a million pennies, filling a vault and diving into it like Scrooge McDuck. What's the weirdest thing a medical professional has casually said to you? I had a medical professional say, I used to be a heroin addict, so I'm pretty good at this, as she was putting in my IV. This is the part where all your dignity goes out the window. I'm gonna tape your penis to your abdomen. When I was like 20, my endocrinologist took a good look at me and asked, are you okay with your face being so asymmetrical? After destroying my knee riding BMX at 17, the emergency surgeon said, wow, really fucked that up. I told an OBGYN during an exam my husband and I had just started trying to get pregnant, and she said, are you tracking your cycle or just fucking all the time? What's a video game that will forever be in your heart no matter what age you reach? Roller Coaster Tycoon. Kingdom Hearts. Even though the franchise has been on some bullshit for years now, the first one will always be special to me. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. World of Warcraft. It consumed so many hours of my 20s. Two of my guildmates got married and one of them faked his own death, then pretended to be his own son, then got caught and admitted to it all. Portal and Portal 2 for sure. Minecraft. Not playing it anymore, but seeing the Hermitcraft server on YouTube makes me happy every time I watch a video from one of those guys. RuneScape. The Port Sarim OST still has a special place in my heart. What's the most absurd reason you've heard of someone cancelling their marriage? My Italian uncle cancelled his wedding because the bride's family, not Italian, would not serve lasagna at the wedding reception. The best man said in his speech that he slept with the bride about 2 weeks before the wedding! One of my friends was engaged and is Catholic. Her husband had to convert and he had a dream where he was in a Catholic church but not getting married. So he had a vision of becoming a priest and now the wedding is off. My friend's former fiance was a nice dude. Turns out dude was living 2 lives or attempting to at the very least. He's married for 10 plus years and had 2 kids. The engagement ring was his wife's and he stole it back every now and then to find it for her. What profession always acts like they had the hardest job on earth? Real estate agent? For many jobs, the most difficult part is just getting through the day because it's incredibly mundane or tedious, not actually difficult. A shitload of enlisted military jobs are very basic and easy. Sales. We're a big bunch of whiny babies a lot of the time. I think it's because of the extreme highs and lows we go through. Not the hardest, but the most self-important people I've met are truckers. Let's just shit on the lower class, why not? Welders. Watch any welding video on social media and you see a huge pissing match in the comments about how shit the weld was and how they've been welding for 30 years. What games have you literally spent months of your life playing? League of Legends. That game is free to play but will literally cost your soul. Chess. I've been playing for years and I'm still rated potato. Asking my wife where she wants to go eat. World of Warcraft. I spent 1,400 hours on Battlefield Bad Company 2, which is 60 days equals 2 months and it was worth it. Minecraft is probably one of the few games I've played for months. 5,000 hours Counter-Strike Go. Been playing CS since I was 14 in 99. The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. I spent 8 years playing until my Xbox burnt out and I was forced to move on to Oblivion. What is the worst mistake humanity has made? Removing Pluto from the planets list. A planet with vendetta is no joke. Generally believing that sacrificing where we live for material wealth is a good trade, commies be like. Social media broke the social mechanism of shame as a means of suppressing extreme/stupid ideas. Our modern world and culture supports and encourages endless growth, but we have limited resources. Social media, the worst invention since the nuclear bomb, creates an echo chamber of hate, lies, and narcissism that feeds upon itself and encourages the very worst human behavior on an endless loop. What is no longer worth it because of how expensive it has become? Doritos. $6.99 USD? Streaming services. We're back at cable-like again. Boxed cereal. A box of Cheerios for $7? Get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. Airbnb. All of the add-on fees usually drive the cost up higher than an actual hotel stay in the same area. I used to like dropping by Starbucks for a coffee, but fuck the $6 lattes or whatever it is now. Concerts. By the time all the extras and fees are applied, they're out of reach. Ordering delivery. Used to be the same price as ordering in person with a small fee and tip per item. Who abandoned their core audience and paid the price for it? Sci-Fi Channel. At some point, there was no sci-fi on it. Cracked.com. There were a couple years there where they transformed from a second-rate mad knockoff to some of the smartest, funniest stuff on the internet. OnlyFans briefly banning sexually explicit material on their service. Boeing. Built by engineers corrupted by Wall Street. Moved their HQ away from Seattle to Chicago just to get away from listening to engineers. I just learned from a TikTok, good start, that Applebee's tried to become a club at night to attract younger customers, but no one wanted to go hang out at Applebee's. Who won in court but lost in the court of public opinion? Bill Cosby. I literally forgot sometimes that his convictions was overturned and vacated. O.J. Simpson. That case in Mexico where a rapist was acquitted of rape because he didn't enjoy it. Ken McElroy, the Skidmore, Missouri town bully. His rap sheet included assault, statutory rape, child molestation, arson, animal cruelty, hog and cattle rustling, and burglary burglary, never convicted. One day he was shot and killed in broad daylight at a busy street. Nobody saw who did it. What TV trope was common in the not-so-distant past, but is completely unacceptable today? Stalking a woman long enough and constantly will eventually make her fall for you. Misunderstandings that now can be cleared up by a text or cell phone call. Game show host kissing female contestants on the lips? I have doubts that a clip show episode would do well these days. Running through the airport to confess one's love for the protagonist. Not really TV tropes, but slapping women that were supposedly having a panic attack. Suicide used to be a common joke, especially in cartoons. If you want to share a character that was sad, they would pull out a gun and put it to their head. What is the biggest lie told to people in human history? There are hot singles in my area dying to meet me? Vaccines cause... We're a family and care about our employees. The war won't last long. If you work hard, you'll have a good, happy life. It's more about where you put the effort every day. You can be whatever you want when you grow up. Looks don't matter. Yes, I will remember to cancel the subscription just before the free trial ends. You won't always have a calculator. I definitely will not come in your mouth. What the fuck? What celebrity barely escaped being cancelled by the skin of their teeth? As it always comes up in these threads, I can't believe Chris Brown still has a career and that people will work with him. How Jared Leto has not been cancelled yet is a mystery to me. I've been saying. Caitlyn Jenner literally killed a person and that was swept under the rug pretty swiftly. Surprised nobody has mentioned Travis Scott after Astroworld. Dude stood on stage singing at dead bodies in the crowd. Steven Tyler had his 14-year-old girlfriend move in with him when she was 15. He got her pregnant. Tyler then had her get an abortion, dumped her, and sent her back to her parents. Fucking hell. What item did you not realize was expensive until you became an adult? Legos. My god. How my parents ever got me any, I'll never know. Cars. All grown-ups had them, maybe even multiple. I still think it's insane that some cars are more expensive than a 2-bedroom apartment. Electricity. I thought it was free as the air we breathe, so I would have my bedroom lit up like a Christmas tree 24/7. Food is both more expensive and goes bad quicker when you're an adult. New tires. Most unexciting $1,000 purchase I've ever made. Groceries for sure. When I first moved out on my own, anytime I could afford fresh fruit or a name brand snack, I felt like royalty. What's a dirty little secret you found out about a company or service that made you stop using them? DoorDash keeping drivers tips for themselves? Most of the recycling bins just get dumped in regular garbage. Boycotting Nestle since 1977. Been a minute since I've seen a Nestle hater. Subway knew and covered up that Jared was a pedophile. Nissan spent a decade ruining the life of the guy who owned Nissan.com. The Weather Channel app collected and sold user location data without disclosing it. Volkswagen manipulated the software on their diesel cars so they could cheat the emissions tests. What massively improved your mental health? Quit teaching high school, got divorced. I got a cat, he sits with me. I'll rant and say all kinds of stuff to him and he just sits there like, go ahead and get that off your chest, man. I used to hate my mum telling me that exercise would reduce my depression, but she was absolutely right. Getting sober, hit 19 months a few days ago. Extended vacations that involves flying to another country or state. Knowing that just because I don't have a romantic partner doesn't mean I'm not loved. Moving to a place that wasn't winter 8 months of the year and I was close to the ocean. How did a business permanently lose you as a customer? Not my story, but when I was working at Taco Bell, a man called us to say that we didn't add sour cream to his item. He said, "You mark this day on your calendar because I am never coming back." Taco Bell has never recovered from him leaving. Auto Trader Online. Bought a car out of state and they never transported it. They also never handled the paperwork. Seller and I had to do it ourselves. Vivid Seats. I purchased a floor ticket for a concert and was sent a mezzanine ticket, and unfortunately didn't notice till I got to the concert. What is something rich people say that is bullshit? We are in this together. I actually work for a few wealthy people, and the amount of times I've heard "I'm poor" or "I have no money" is absurd. It's just a banana, Michael. How much can it cost? $10? You'd have more money if you didn't spend it on coffee and avocado toast. With all this opportunity, you'd have to choose to be poor. Had a wealthy ex-girlfriend try to convince me that her parents giving her $5,000 to $10,000 every month for fun money was the same as a parent buying their kid a Coke. Money doesn't solve everything. Although technically true, I can't think of a problem I have currently that wouldn't be solved by wealth. What's the craziest war tactic used in history? In World War I, the British airdropped opium-laced cigarettes on the enemy, and then when they started smoking and fell asleep, they attacked the trenches. Invading Rome on elephant back has to be up there. The Persian Empire was noted as putting their largest men on their smallest ponies. Enemy cities saw them from far off and thought they were giants riding normal-sized horses. In the French Revolution, a French cavalry unit successfully traversed the ice of the frozen Den Helder harbor and captured the Dutch fleet as it was stuck in the ice. This was the first ever capture of naval units by a cavalry detachment. What is causing your friend to remain single that you don't have the heart to tell them? He makes the same jokes about poop and farts all the time. The people they like aren't real. They are idealized cartoonish caricatures. I can smell them. Everyone can smell them. They talk way too much. Even during texting, my friend is sending paragraphs to women he just met. I always wondered why she couldn't get a date because she is gorgeous, until I saw her flirting with someone. First night they met, flirted, swapped numbers, then immediately clinging. The type of guys she claims she likes isn't what she's actually attracted to. When she finds one and dates him, suddenly he's not outgoing enough, doesn't speak his mind enough, and is too shy. What movie was meant to set up the next big franchise, only for the first film to spectacularly fail? The American version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo only did the first book. Live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender. After Earth with those Smith fuck-ups was supposed to be the new Marvel. What it did was make everyone hate his son. I feel like Brightburn was supposed to be the first of several what if they were evil superhero movies. Max Payne. Hard to think of a movie that fucked up source material more spectacularly. Warcraft. Seems like just another poor video game adaptation, but I think they got greedy by not using the much more fleshed out Warcraft 3 storyline. What app is so useful you can't believe it's free? Merlin Bird ID. It's basically Shazam for birds? Depending on how you use it, YouTube. It's amazing how much I've learned from YouTube. VLC Media Player. Plays anything you throw at it. Shazam. Impressively accurate and speed for a real problem. Google Maps. I have no sense of direction whatsoever. Literally changed my life. Blender. Extremely powerful 3D modeling and animation software that is comparable to the software the industry uses. Google Translate. The examples of that as a tourist is crazy. Wikipedia. It's actually free in all senses of the word. What's a fact that was taught in school that's been disproven in your lifetime? Strangers will give me free drugs on street corners and in Halloween candy. You won't always have a calculator on you. That George Washington's teeth were made out of wood. No, it's so much worse. What the hell were they made out of? Would have been made of teeth extracted from enslaved people. In pharmacy school around the turn of the century, we were taught that people in legitimate pain don't get addicted to opiates and opioids. If you study well and have excellent grades, you will end up with a nice job and lots of money. The whole meteorite killed the dinosaurs thing wasn't yet the accepted theory when I was a kid. What's the grossest thing you've seen someone bring to a potluck? My grandmother-in-law. The first time was stale cake in a bowl of syrup. Someone made brownies with ground meat in them to a church potluck. She opened a can of tiny shrimp and poured it out, liquid and all, on top of a block of cream cheese. Casserole with a side of roaches? Not even kidding. They crawled out of the bag she brought her dish in. Homemade fried chicken, which translated to chicken that I covered in pancake batter and breadcrumbs and dropped in a frying pan. What is the one thing that you flat out just don't know how people afford? Secret hidden families, I can barely afford one. Weddings. I'm a wedding bartender and people dropping 30k on one day is insane to me. If there's one day that you gotta spend a whole heap of money, you know? People who eat exclusively by ordering takeaways or delivery from restaurants. Modern day house prices. $600,000 used to buy you a serious mansion. Now it's an average family home. I've seen plenty of people in their 30s and on minimum wage jobs post their huge and expensive Funko Pop, Gundam, vinyl, manga, retro game collections, and I don't know how they do it. What company has you shocked that they have not yet gone out of business? I hope they don't, but Arizona iced tea has cost the same my whole life. Wells Fargo. Why anyone will still trust them with their money baffles me. Guitar Center. I worked with them for 13 years. They were on the brink of death the whole time. Chuck E. Cheese lost its heyday years ago. Business sucks. All those awful kiosks in the malls that sell stuff no one honestly needs. AOL's 2022 revenue was $7.4 billion? AOL has 10,350 employees and the revenue per employee ratio is $740,000 a year. Do you know someone who died from something they actively denied or mocked? My uncle thought that seatbelts were for cowards. He was a good driver. The drunk driver that killed him wasn't. The lawyer that fought against helmet laws for motorcycles in Florida was killed along with his significant other in a motorcycle crash. My uncle got in a drunken motorcycle wreck and had to have half his jaw rebuilt. Didn't take his antibiotics because I never get sick. He died of the infection when it got to his brain. My uncle insisted that the link between smoking and cancer was a bunch of hippie do-gooder bullshit. Older Redditors, what do young people get completely wrong about the past decades. Probably just how often you had to accept that you couldn't find out the answer to something. How on time you had to be for your favorite shows because there was little to no chance you'd see that same episode again. How common drinking and driving was, that it was incredibly common to just not have pictures of events or other things we see as important now. 9/11. Younger people don't truly understand how the entire nation froze in shock. Up until video rental stores in the early 80s, at school the next day, every kid was talking about what was on TV the night before. What is the adult version of finding out that Santa Claus doesn't exist? Being a hard worker and good at your job doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be rewarded for it. That some friends were never really your friend. That going to college and getting a 9 to 5 wasn't going to be the fun, creative, latte-filled experience rom-coms would have you believe. $500 isn't a lot of money. When you buy an 8-piece Tupperware set, 4 of the pieces are lids. Finding out that someone you have looked up to and admired your entire life is actually a horrible person. One dumb mistake and it could all be over. What's a dead giveaway that someone is not actually as wealthy as they claim? When they repeatedly and adamantly tell you how wealthy they are. I feel like actual rich people prioritize vacations and travel, buying their kids cars, paying for their kids' grandkids' tuition. 90% of the wealthy shut the fuck up about it because they learn once they start making good money, everyone wants a piece. Private jet pilot friend of mine said for the slightly wealthy, they bring loads of luggage. The ultra rich bring a day bag, they have enough money to buy clothes when they get there or already have clothes waiting for them. I would say the giveaway of a false rich person would be knowing the price of things. What early internet website did Gen Z really miss out on? I miss the AOL chat rooms. I would be on them all night long getting into discussions over any possible subject. Miniclip.com, the uncouth version of Pirate Bay before governments understood what piracy was. Forums in general were great community spaces that you just don't get on Reddit or Facebook groups. YouTube without the slightest thought of ads. When people did stuff for fun and because it was cool, not to make money. GeoCities is the very definition of the old internet. Creativity was king. Your identity was irrelevant. It's peanut butter jelly time. What is one experience you think every single human should have? Be passionate about something. Doesn't have to be a person. Seeing the stars from somewhere with minimal light pollution. Pictures can't capture it. Being proudly wrong about something important to you, accepting that fact and growing from it positively. Facing repercussions for their actions. Living alone for at least a few months. Travel solo. It's a truly amazing experience and you'll discover so much about yourself. Fucking someone who is way out of your league. Boost your ego and self-confidence into the stratosphere and makes you realize you're capable of anything. What is the smallest hill you'll die on? Utensils need to be at the end of the buffet. Burgers come with fries. Stop trying to charge me an extra $7 for a quarter of potatoes worth of shoestring fries. Actual physical push buttons are way better than sensor buttons. Burgers should be wider, not taller. If you need to put a skewer through it, it's no longer a burger, it's a kebab. It's okay not to tip at Starbucks. Talking on speakerphone in public is not necessary. Toilet paper rolls over, not under. Two-piece dresses are not dresses. You just called it a two-piece. Fuck you, Susie May 01. What that can't happen to me thing happened to you. It can't crash through my kitchen last year. I was an innocent bystander shot in the chest during a drive-by. My brother-in-law had a psychotic break after going off his medication and killed my sleeping father, then himself. My family and I were in a hot air balloon crash. Both parents dying before I turned 30. Became a drug addict. My wife cheated on me with my best friend. They're moving in together next month. I got pulled over 3 different times in the same day by the same cop in 3 different cars. What have you always done but later found out was gross? As an Asian, I was always taught growing up to throw used toilet paper in the trash bin. Oh, that would smell so gross. All my life, I wiped my toothbrush on the hand towel to dry it up until my sister asked what the fuck I was doing. Not washing newly purchased clothing items. Chewing on fingernails. I haven't done it in decades, but once upon a time. I used to take shits, would wipe for a bit, but if it was taking too long, I would just stuff a wad of toilet paper in my butt crack and deal with it later. What is something bad for your health that people don't talk about enough? Grind culture. We need rest, hobbies, and socialization outside of work. Not getting enough sleep. Some people even boast about only needing a few hours a night, but that could be very damaging in the long term. Backflips are dangerous as fuck, but no one talks about it because they're fucking dope. Sitting down all day. Chronic hatred. Staying at a job that is slowly killing you. Employers no longer reward dedicated work. Don't sacrifice your well-being for a millionaire/billionaire's bottom dollar. What's the most out-of-touch thing you've heard someone say. Everyone's parents leave them an inheritance. I'm sure they're just keeping a secret from you to surprise you. With a hefty storm approaching England, a politician advised those in its path that they should maybe leave and go to their second or third homes to be safe. When discussing inequality and its effects on housing, my professor briefly mentioned how mortgages are out of reach of a growing number of Americans. The girl next to me stopped the class and with a confused face asked the professor why people don't just buy their homes in cash outright, because surely the interest means it will cost them more over time. Doctors have read it. What is your craziest story where a patient presented with mild symptoms? My dad woke up with severe back pain one morning after not doing anything strenuous the weeks/days leading up to it. That appointment showed a broken rib from a huge tumor on his spine. A man came to the hospital because his wife always complained about his bad breath. Long story short, I met him because they consulted my department when the tissue biopsy came back as esophageal cancer. New PT came in with what he thought was a mild ache in his teeth. Took a radiograph and the jawbone around the tooth looked straight. Turned out it was a very aggressive metastatic bone cancer and died a few weeks later. What is the most historically significant event you ever witnessed in person? I was in the crowd when RFK was shot. I sat on the roof of our house and watched Mount St. Helens erupt less than 100 miles away. I was on the freeway in California in the 90s when a white Ford Bronco passed us, and then a whole lot of police cars. The B-52 crash that led to changing what military aircraft are allowed to do for air shows. I was in class with the daughter of one of the pilots of 9/11 when she found out that her father had died. I was standing on my front porch watching the launch of the Challenger. What is the creepiest thing you've ever seen out in the water? The bioluminescent animals in the water is pretty amazing. Our toilet would fill up with seawater, and if you took a piss in it in the middle of the night, it would agitate the water and it would close sometimes. Hundreds of miles out at sea from land, and there was a massive fire on the water. It was like the top of a gas refinery, but on the water with nothing under it but water. Somewhere in the Atlantic, nice cold as fuck night, decided to step out and look at stars. About 10 minutes on and a boat's mast pops up, sits there for a few minutes and then back under. No alarms, nothing. What unforgivable act by a celebrity did the public seem to forget too easily? Floyd Mayweather beat the shit out of his former girlfriend and got away with it because the judge allowed him to train for a fight he was headlining. Boy George abducted and tortured a man in 2007? Travis Scott. So many people died and he knew. Everyone suddenly just forgot? Jack Nicholson beat a sex worker so bad in the 90s that she suffered permanent injuries. Mark Wahlberg's series of racially motivated attacks and hate crimes, most notably him blinding an Asian man because he thought he looked Vietnamese. What's the weirdest thing someone casually told you as if it were totally normal? I've had 12 DUIs, 8 concussions, and have died twice. Can't wait till I can drive again. I had a college professor in the first day of class say that she's obsessed with Q-tips and cleaning her ears and that her family has to limit her to 3 a day. When I was 5, I was at a family barbecue and I couldn't find my dad. I looked all over and finally I found him in the garage. He was tied to a chair and 2 of his cousins were beating the shit out of him. A couple of days later, my dad was driving me to school and he saw one of the cousins walking down the street. He pulled over, jumped out of the car and shot his cousin in the head. Have you ever gotten up and quit your job in the middle of a work shift? If so, why? FedEx Ground. One day I told my store manager that I was running to the restroom and he was like, "Come on man, can you hold it another 45 at least?" The new owner of the restaurant I worked for wanted to charge the staff for breakages. I worked at a car wash during the winter in the wet tunnel. Manager got in my face for wearing a coat that didn't have the company logo on it, but they didn't make uniform coats. I was 17 and just finished mopping the floor at closing time and was walking out the door. The owner's son walks across the floor in boots covered in motor oil and told me to mop this shit up. I dropped the mop on the floor and told him to do it himself. Who is a successful singer but also not a very good singer? Katy Perry always seems like she yells notes instead of sings. Machine Gun Kelly. Vince Neil. Guy is fucking terrible and always has been. Gwen Stefani. I'm still confused that it's all because she looked hot in the 90s. Enrique Iglesias. Selena Gomez. Truly cannot sing, but a product of the Disney machine. I'm preparing for the backlash. Sorry in advance. Taylor Swift. She's not bad at singing by any means, but her singing voice is incredibly underwhelming for how much hype she gets. What massively improved your mental health? Stopped lying to myself and others. Accepted myself for who I was. Getting more money. Quit teaching high school. Got divorced. So much less stress, I finally quit smoking. I got a cat. He sits with me. I'll rant and say all kinds of stuff to him and he just sits there like, go ahead and get that off your chest, man. Find something to look forward to. It literally pulled me out of depression. Nature. People still overlook this simple thing and it's hard for many to find nature where they live. I took a trip to the mountains and had never felt more relaxed in my life. Thank you for watching. It is so weird that we're still going. I don't know why. I don't know why that's so crazy to me, but we're still going on this, and it's great. I love it. I'm having a fun time, and I'm really happy that everyone is watching. So thank you so much for watching. This is the first video that you've ever seen of mine. I don't just speak while reading off Reddit. I also do play games, and sometimes I'll just talk about some random topic that I'll ask everyone on the channel to vote on. So if you want to be a part of that, then you can subscribe and keep an eye out for the community posts and everything. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you with a topic next week, so that'll be fun. And if it's not next week for you because you're watching this in like 6 months, click around, you'll find something. Alright, see ya.